What's up, everyone? Today we are here with Ashley Kuttuva, who is the owner of Earth Rabbit Crystals. And Ashley, I've known you for it's been what, a year and a half or so,
Yeah.
or something along those lines. And I've always thought you were super interesting because of just what you do. With you are a would it be considered a crystal surgeon, or just you do crystal surgery,
More
or
like an alchemist
okay,
specialized
yes,
in crystals and stone medicine.
nice. Well, and honestly, even like walking into your room and your office and stuff, it's just like so many amazing crystals. And then I've seen the wands that you've made. I've seen
Yeah.
just the passion and the energy that you put into all that you do, and the dedication. And I am happy to have you here to learn all about it. So
Thanks.
thank you for coming.
Yeah.
So first thing I wanted to get into, because we haven't really talked much since before this. What have you been up to? Have you been traveling and doing the shows and stuff like that, like the expos?
Yeah, so I do pop-up markets typically around the tri-state area, and I've been doing several shows around Cincinnati. This year will be the most shows I've ever done. I'm more than doubling what I've done in the past. So I'm really
Nice.
going to get out there and see what the city likes to talk about as far as crystals go.
Do you? Is there a lot of prep that goes into that?
There
Like,
is. This year too, I traveled to the Tucson Gem Show to really kind of gain my stock for the whole year and have access to product from all over the world. And so it's hard to know exactly what's going to be needed. You bring that all home, you have to figure out how to store it, you have to take care of it all, label it, get it ready for shows. But then before each show, and I'll often do parties, house parties, and events as well. So before each one, if I had my way, I like to do a whole setup prior to get a feel for what I'm going to do, so that way the day of it just flows more easily.
that's good. I mean, and I see people like you that have booths and stuff in different places, and I'm just like, that is so much
Yes.
stuff that you have to like carry and travel around
It's
with.
I didn't it never occurred to me I'd be lugging rocks around
Right.
for a living.
I
What was I
know.
thinking?
I can't even. What does the energy feel like in your car when you're riding with all the crystals?
Low.
Does it? Yeah.
I'm good in the snow,
Yeah.
but it's also just you're with they're with me. It's a
Yeah.
whole community, and we're riding together, so there's a real camaraderie with it too.
Right.
It's fun.
Yeah, so you said you already went down and stocked up. You said
Yes,
what? I guess that would be fun to like be around your people and network and just.
yes.
Do you get like a lot of I don't know, like business cards and try to make
You
connections
know,
down
I
there?
do. And I actually ran into someone this year whom I have met and worked with over the phone. She lives in Canada, but we've never met in person before. And I
Oh,
immediately
that's exciting.
recognized her voice. We were in the same shop. I had just met the shop owner who was incredible. And so there's all these signposts of magic, and, your path is going the right way through these magical moments, especially when there's that many crystals around. I actually met the person who really inspired me to take this step and to start this business also on this trip spontaneously. So
That's
it's just,
amazing.
if anything else, being surrounded by rocks all the time, the magic of life, of the universe, really comes alive and speaks to you.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like when you're on any journey that you're supposed to be doing, like
Yes.
the universe is just like, hey, here's this little encouragement over here. Here's this synchronicity, and here's this,
Yeah.
I don't know, thing, uh, which also reminds me every time I talk to you that we need to make our little
Oh
tool that I
yes, the
keep talking about
tools.
every single time we talk about it. But and you know what's really funny? I don't know if I told you or not. Uh, After we talked at the expo that time, and you were telling me about your story and everything,
Yeah.
I went over like an aisle over, and there were a bunch of tools, that crystal tools that were made similar to what I was talking about, and I was
Oh
like, this
wow.
is like very close to what I think I actually took a picture. I don't know if I sent it to you or not, but
You
anyway,
did.
did I send it to
I
you?
kind of
Yeah.
remember that.
It's so anyway, I do love the universe just talking to us and telling us
Yeah.
or helping us every step of the way. So another thing that I wanted to ask you about is like your wands that you make. I think so. Actually, let me start with this. So, can you give us a little bit of a background of what
Yeah.
you actually do, so before I go talking about all the other specific things?
Well, originally I have a master's in fine arts from Rochester Institute of Technology. I ran a gallery at the time. I was pretty involved in the community, so I've already had this kind of leadership role among the community, but I was burnt out pretty quickly from that type of work. I went on, after starting a family, I realized that my degree didn't open doors in every location I went. And so I was trying to find a supplement for that. And that's when I fell into welding. That was something I kind of messed around with when I worked in a foundry during college and just fell in love with it, and it always stuck with me. And I thought, if I add the certificate to my education, then my actual master's degree can have a farther reach. It would really expand on my knowledge, even just of practical skills. And so I went into welding. After that, I really went through a pretty tough time in my life, and I wound up on a healer's doorstep. I wasn't really sure what I was doing there, but that's when it was kind of reminded to me this love and interest in crystals as a child and as even a young adult, before the world kind of smacked it out of my hand and said, "You got to be practical. You can't do that." And so, in learning how to use the crystals in a healing fashion, is when I discovered that I had this culmination of skills that came together in order to be able to build the tools that I was going to need to affect the healing that I wanted to do. And so that's when I started using my skills in the foundry, my skills in welding to build these tools, and a whole new artistic venture took off. And it's just very fulfilling, that creative side of me, but also it's putting tools in the hands of people who need it. It's their tools to teach people who are just beginning their path. And so I feel like the alignment with who I am and what I'm supposed to do here exploded. It was just phenomenal how all these weird collection can come together almost perfectly.
Yeah.
So now I do make wands. Often I'll do commission pieces for practitioners, but in themselves, they act as a talisman. They don't need to be known how to use, they will inspire you to use them in the way they intend for. So even if um, a practitioner will bring a collection of crystals to me and have me put them together for them, there's other crystals who almost form for and tell me how to do it. I don't know what it's for, but I'll put it together, and then whomever it ends up with, sometimes they stay with me, they teach me what it's for. So it's like a collaborative effort, and it's so fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, because you don't know what each piece is gonna be until you do, I guess,
I
in a way.
don't. And it's really interesting because some of these pieces you can tell, oh, this is an old bead off of someone's necklace from 100 years ago, and here's a
Mm,
piece that was just unearthed 2 months ago, and there's another piece that has been traded through countless hands, has been formed by one artisan after another, which was something else, a piece of jewelry, and now it's loose and free. So if you really think about the journey that even the individual crystals have made to come together on my desk, is
mm,
pretty phenomenal. And in a way, I'm asking for permission. Is this how it's supposed to go together? And it's a very intuitive process where I can feel or see, even from, I think, my artistically trained eye, I can see what it appear for me, and then I go for it and make it happen.
that's really cool. Have you ever seen my wand that I have here?
I don't think so.
You haven't? I'm gonna show
You
you
have
really
one.
quick. Let me get this out. So I have to bring the whole thing over because this is what it came in. So this wand, it has like it's called I think it's Isabella or Bella or it's Bella something, but a lady made that, and she was like guided to make it by her fairy guides or something along those lines. And I did a healing session on her. And after I was done with the healing session, she was like, looked like she was in shock, and she was like, I'll be right back. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's she going to go do? And she walked in the other room and she came back with that. And she was like, I never thought I would give this away, but I'm being told to give this to you. And, but she made that out of all the
Isn't that
stick.
beautiful?
It really
This is a
is.
local artist.
It is, I guess you would say local artist. Yeah, because she does a lot of crystal stuff, honestly. Her name is Jennifer, and she's over in Hamilton. Whenever you're done, I'll
Okay.
take it back. But yeah, I wanted to show you that because you haven't seen that yet. But yeah, I've used it quite a few times, and it really like pinpoints. Oh, there it is. It really pinpoints the energy when I'm utilizing it and stuff. But I don't know. I thought it was really a special gift.
Well, that's a perfect example too of how it even feels like the intention of that wand was made for herself, but the wand teaches, and it was that moment where it was time to pass hands and to go on to its next journey. And
Mm-hmm.
clearly, it was formed in a keeper who was able to heed that message, hear it, and take action with it. So it's
Yeah.
really cool how crystals not only they don't have arms and legs to get around. They need us to help them get to where they're going, but they understand too who their keeper is and why. And because that pass on was she was capable of doing that, it's no wonder that it's such a gift
Yes.
because the so much had to align for that to happen too.
Well, and I 100% agree with that, and I've always heard that crystals will always, I might, and I don't want to say it wrong, but basically crystals will always find their way back to their owner, or they will find their
Yeah.
way to leave the person that's utilizing them if it's not meant for them anymore. Like I had a pendulum that I was using one time, and I was like, all of a sudden it disappeared, and I was like, where in the heck did my pendulum go? And I was like, I guess it must just be time for me to not have it anymore, and I need a new pendulum. And then I it was a quartz crystal pendulum, and I ordered or went and bought, I forget which one I did, but I went and got another pendulum. And then that same day, someone messaged me and they were like, hey, I was at your office the other day when we were in class, and I think I might have accidentally picked up your pendulum because I have
Too
a
funny.
pendulum in my pocket. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, it might be mine. And she brought it. I was like, that is. But it ended up finding its way back. But then I was confused because I was like, I just bought a new pendulum, and then now I'm receiving my old one. Which one do I use? And I don't know. I've always found it fascinating, though, that crystals uh, almost like have a mind of their own, basically, or
They do.
yeah, or an energy of their own.
They do hold consciousness as well, which has been proven in a specific study in Yale where they were able to program a crystal with images of flying birds, and these were in quartz crystals the size of sugar cubes. So they were able
Mm.
to put that in and then reanimate it through the crystal in order to prove that they can hold memory, that there is a consciousness there. And we have a whole collection of crystals that are self healed. So even once they've been removed from their mother, they've been born from the earth, they continue to grow, they can change, they can clear up over time, they can get cloudy, the sun can alter them. It's really cool when you start to get into it. And that's why I have a special place for workshops and the parties that I host, because oftentimes I'll be in a room with 15 people and they're not really familiar with crystals, and they have a certain body language. When I start my spiel, I give a little history, and but then I also highlight how we already use them in science and technology and different frequency processes. And you can see the moment where everyone in the room suddenly turns to face this information. Oh my gosh, maybe there is something to this. And that moment, being able to bring that to people is one of my favorite things about this work.
I can imagine, and that's, I feel like all the like hippy dippy or spiritual thing or whatever, all you can tie it all back to science if you
Yeah.
really need to, and then it can make sense. I think that's part of reaching people, is just trying to
Yes.
make it relate and make sense.
Well, I think the science is often missing too. And so that's why it's something that's really important in my work and with my company is to list the resources to show where they can take this further and find their own information, but also how everything is corroborated and upheld by the science that we've developed here.
That's awesome. Quick question about your events. What do you do for, like, when you go to someone's house or event or party or whatever? Like, what do you do there?
So I'll host my own parties often, and I'll we'll have a specific theme, and it's really about how to adapt and evolve our mind skills, the way we think, the way we process our environment around us, and how crystals can supplement that. And
Mm.
so, depending on the theme, there are so many different directions to go. But I've also been hired for house parties. People want a witchy party, they want an awakening party. I've had people who want to empower their guests. So I'll come in with a theme, I'll bring my crystal shop with me, and I'll highlight a collection of crystals that can help us achieve whatever that theme is. And it's really a hands-on, it's a playing, it's a discovery. Like just when you're meeting another person, you're doing the same exact thing as when you're meeting a crystal. You introduce yourselves, you learn your names, but then you get quiet and you see how does that feel. When I'm talking to you, I feel warm and it feels good, and so I know that I like you, I enjoy your company. And the same thing happens with crystals. Oh, well, maybe this one I feel agitated or scratchy, so that one's not for me. And you, once you quiet down and you really allow room to hear that, to sense what you're feeling, you can really tap into what the woo woo is talking about when we say that this is a gentle guiding force, or a support for you. But I know a lot of people will hold a crystal. Some people will feel it right away. They feel the vibration, they have a physical sensation, and some people don't. And what I like to point out is that a lot of us are feelers and a lot of us are thinkers. And it's the same thing. Just because you're not feeling something doesn't mean nothing's happening. It just could be happening in your thought processes, the way you're talking to yourself inside, the way you're responding to the stimulus around you. The shift is in the mental. So you can have a shift physically or mentally, and oftentimes both, the more you work with them.
That's a great point, and I was going to say something to that. Of, uh, well, first I want to say I love how you said you can take the crystals, and, like, if there's a theme that, like, we want to, I don't know, manifest or something, or
Yes,
we want to do some deep healing, or we want to
right,
whatever. I love that. It's almost like you're I can't think of the word I'm trying to say, but basically you have that, you can bring that set of crystals or
right.
whatever that fit whatever the agenda is, and then it supports it and it helps it.
I'll go home and I have everything laid out, and I'll talk to them. I'll say, all right, we're doing a workshop on this. Who wants to come with me? And they're like, oh, me, and they show me who wants to talk, who wants to be shown off. They like to be
Mhm.
in the spotlight. They like to be in community with each other. They like to be touched and moved and organized. And I love being part of it.
Well, and so to touch on that as well, I used to have I had a friend, and we used to go and cleanse houses together. This is kind of
Ooh,
off topic, but it's gonna circle
no.
back. And when she came to my house, she had like a feather, maybe a hawk feather or
Oh,
something, and she had a cross, and she had a something
a
else.
protective symbol. And
Yeah, well, yeah. So she had a few different things, and I was like, after we were done doing all the stuff we were doing, I was like, why did you bring a feather? And she was like, honestly, I have my tools set out on a table at my house, and before I go to cleanse a house, I stop by the table and I say, "Is there anyone or anything that needs to
who
come with
needs
me?"
to be
And
here?
she'll bring it. And for me, I was like, well, I asked her, I was like, "How does that work? Like, how do you know?" And she was like, "Honestly, you just know, you just feel it." So then I started cleansing houses, and I had my little tools on the table. And then I started to realize just how easy it is. When I walk by that table, I'm like, I need to bring this with me today, or I need to
Right.
bring both of these. And even then it broke, or it came down to like doing energy healing sessions. There was a time I was going to go do an energy healing, and I was traveling to the person's house or office. Funny enough, it's actually the person that it was the healing session that I did when she gave me that
Oh,
wand.
really?
Yes. uh, and I was leaving my house, and I was like, oh, I need my crystals. And I was like, I don't ever use, I've never
Isn't
used
that funny?
crystals. Yes. And
That's a message
it was.
that you
And I was like,
needed.
but I don't want to use my crystal on them because I don't want their energy getting mingled with my crystal. And they were like, it doesn't even have to be that way. We just bring your crystal basically. And I did. And when I got there and I didn't use them for all the chakras or anything. I was on the throat chakra though. And I put my sending hand over her throat chakra. And then they were like, get the crystal for the throat chakra,
Cool.
which I don't even know what it even is at this point, that I maybe soda light or something like that. But anyway, I grabbed it, and they told me to put it in my left hand, and they were bringing energy down through my left hand using that
That's
crystal
so
to
cool.
amplify the
Yeah.
energy. And then I was sending it into her throat chakra, and she started like gasping, and like it was really weird actually for me because it was the beginning of my journey. I was like, what the heck is she doing? Like, what's going
Wow.
on? And she had a lot that cleared out basically, but I seen why I needed the crystals now. And the universe spoke to me basically and told me, hey, you need this. And crystals, I when I got my I when I bought separate crystals for each chakra. And also, full disclosure, I am not a like I don't know a lot about crystals. So love
You
crystals,
don't have
don't
to.
know a lot about them, but I went and I felt it out. Because when you go to a good crystal shop, they have their sections, and there's like over 10 different crystals for each chakra that you can buy. So it's
It's a
like,
lot.
which one do I need? So I was just going through and filling it out. I was there for like an hour or more. And but then when I got home, what I did for like, it was either each night or for 3 days or something like that, I took one crystal from there and I put it in my left hand, and I just started meditating, and I asked, what kind of personality does this crystal have? What
Mm.
is this crystal going to be used for? And again, this was at the very beginning of my journey, so I didn't know how to get these messages, but the crystal talked to me so clearly. And it didn't doesn't kind of like what you said, it doesn't have to be like the crystals, you hear it talking in your ears or anything.
Right.
You feel it, or you just know it, or whatever. But I each crystal had its own personality, and I saw that in my mind because I'm very clairvoyant. And it was like, this crystal feels like a wise old lady, or this one feels
Right.
like a goofy old man, or
They're the
whatever. And
community. And that's a
yes.
perfect example of what I mean when I say the wands themselves are the teachers. You get that through inspiration. And by practicing that, by walking by the table every day, by considering who wants to come with me, you're opening yourself up to that conversation, and that conversation flows more easily every time. And then
Mm.
it's just a habit. You've got a groove there and you're moving through it. And it's simple.
If someone comes to you and they're like, I don't know, have this going on and I don't know what I need, do you get a feeling of like what they need crystal wise?
I have people ask all the time. And
Mm.
what's neat about the crystals is you don't have to believe in them for them to work. Their chemistry, the physics of each piece is inherent to them whether you believe or not. And so someone doesn't even need to know how to use it, need to know what they need, but through that gentle guidance, they will be affected upon just by being in its presence. And oftentimes they'll ask me, for specific ideas of something that might help them in one way or another.
Yeah, well, and I think that's awesome. I truly do. And I know people that, I mean, they were like, I had terrible anxiety, and then I started wearing this bracelet, and now everything's completely better. And it's like, to a normal or I don't even know what you would call a mainstream person that doesn't believe all that kind of stuff. They're just like, okay, yeah, you're just psyching
Right.
yourself out or whatever. But by the way, even if they are just psyching themselves out, let them psych themselves out so
Yeah,
they don't have
right.
anxiety anymore. Uh, but I mean, I think people should just give it a try and go to a crystal shop or get something for something you need. Like if you have anxiety, go to someone like yourself and just say, hey, look, I have anxiety. I'm looking for something that can help support that in some way, shape, or form, and just give it a try because it really does make a big difference.
What's great for anxiety is some tourmaline and some rhodonite in the pockets.
Tourmaline
It's a
absorbs negative energy, right?
that can
What's
it
the
just
other
sucks it
one
right out.
do?
Um, they work in conjunction as a community, and
Okay.
that's another reason why the tools become a showpiece of the healing with crystals, because you can create a circuit. They work together in a community, just like you have people at work that you prefer to work with and people that you'd rather not work with. They have their comrades too. They work better with, they are amplified, they bounce off each other. And once you set them into one piece, they become an easily maneuverable circuit you can use in one hand. They're already working together. So it's the combination of the two that kind of helps dispel the anxiety. But the rhodonite is a very gentle, loving stone. It helps you be more secure in yourself so you don't need that external reassurance that often is needed to kind of quench anxiety.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's really cool to think about them, how they work with each other for
Yeah.
something, because I think that's a great, and you put it very nicely as well and explain that very nicely. Have you ever saw that? Did you say it's called rhodonite? Is that
Mm-hmm.
so? Let's just, for example, we have tourmaline and rhodonite. Have you ever seen where you're like, all right, we need to get some rhodonite and some tourmaline, and you grab each one and that particular crystal is like, oh no, I wouldn't work well with that particular other crystal, and then you have to grab another one. Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Um, there's they do there is a consent process. It isn't often where it's like a hard no, but there is a sense in your own self, it's not quite settled.
Mm-hmm.
So there are times where, oh, that would be my go to just from my intellect. And then I'll reach for those items. But maybe that's not exactly what this person needs. And it's not necessarily spoken to me, but the way it shows up in my body. I'm very in tune internally. I have a pretty in-depth somatic practice to just get more and more in touch every day. And so I can really sense more and more the effect that I'm having when a stone is going to have an effect on its own, and then you dip it into your system, and now my body is starting to have an effect from that interaction. And so there are times where I will grab what I think intellectually would be helpful, and it's not quite settled in my system, and that tells me try something else.
Well, that's
It's
cool.
more, it gets intuitive in that way, and that's the collaborative aspect to the stones that just keeps it thrilling. You don't have to know all the things. It's really great to know, it's nice, but as soon as we think we know all the things, we're almost taking it away from the source, and that's when we get into trouble. We need to collaborate with the source for sure.
It's so funny because I was just talking with on my podcast yesterday, and we were talking about this, but in a complete, like, not completely, but in a different way, but saying the same exact thing, as in like the books or the learning, like the people teaching us and stuff. Sometimes we get so caught up on following the process
Yes.
with that we don't like just allow God, the universe, guides,
To flow
whatever,
right
to
through
just
you.
flow through us and allow our intuition to just flow. And it's funny now because you're
It's the
just like,
same thing. And that's
say,
exactly what I do with our community events. Is I want to show people that you can find this way. Your way is actually the best way. And so I like to really empower people to kind of harness that understanding in themselves. I can show you how to do some of this, and then let's fiddle around and take it from there. Really just put the training wheels on, get having that experience of leading yourself. And
Hmm.
I'll walk with you while you start, and then whoop, you're good to go.
Yeah.
It's not that easy, but that's part of my passion. Is you hear people all the time say, if I can do it, anyone can do it. I really came from a place of zero, probably negative resilience.
Hmm.
I was just crumpled up by this world. And if I can find my way to be able to understand my own leadership powers, to have faith in myself, to trust knowing who I am, then anyone can do it. And I love to be the one to show others how to get there.
Yeah.
That's what I needed years ago.
Well, and I think it's good to be what you needed. That's kind of my
Yes.
goal with everything I do is like when I was in the beginning stages or when I was where I was, I what did I need, and I try to base it
Yes.
off of that. And I was going to say something else, and I'm having trouble remembering, but I wanted to say another thing is something that, and I was thinking about this a second ago, that happens to me. Like my kids and I and my wife, we go down to like rivers and we'll throw rocks in the water and stuff and skip rocks and all
Hmm.
that. And something that happens a decent amount is I'll go to pick up a rock, but I feel like that rock doesn't want to be in the water right now. I feel like it wants to be
Hmm.
out in the sun, and so I'll kind of like go to grab it. And I'm like, oh, not that one. We'll go with this one. This one wants to be, but I feel the same way with like washed up driftwood or something like
Yes.
that. I'm like, I'm gonna throw this in, and I'm like, I really feel like this wants to be out of the water right now, and I always just listen to that, and even down to this is a story I've told many times, but I was a teenager at this time, and I would always walk through when we were walking through the woods because we were always in the woods. I would grab like a little leaf off of a tree, and I would just like keep folding it, and then kind of like break it in half. And I don't know, it just felt good to me to do. And then one day I went to reach for a leaf, and I was like, "Ooh, I shouldn't take that off." And I was like, "That's okay." And then I
Mm.
took it off and I did it. Then the next time I grabbed for one, I felt even stronger. I shouldn't do this, so I just stopped ripping the leaves off of the trees because I was like, I guess I just feel like I shouldn't do it. But now understanding, I guess the leaves.
You're in communication.
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
it's so fascinating when you are able to allow, you responded to that, you were moved by that, and you did something different. Once you show the universe you're willing to be influenced by that, you get a ton of messages. They're
Hmm.
everywhere. And I wanted to speak on, being who we needed years ago. That if we can do that now to bring our old selves through, then it's not that far of a leap to understand that we can reach our future selves also to pull
Hmm.
us through now, because it's the same exact principle. I am definitely who I would have needed 6 or 7 years ago. It's comforting to know that if I'm in a sticky spot, I can reach ahead to also get that same type of inspiration.
Yeah, I think that's something that is really cool to think that you can access that version of yourself and kind of pull from that energy to be able to, um, I don't know, receive the guidance or be able to receive the strength to pull yourself out of whatever it is. And
It's that subtle influence, I think, for me, being around the crystals every day, all the time, where all of a sudden these possibilities really begin to open up, and it's a whole treasure trove in there.
yeah, I can imagine. Well, that's cool. Where do you like? Do you have a warehouse, or do you have like a
No,
big room in your house, or where
I
do
have
you?
a little room
Yeah,
with stuff everywhere. It's
that's
chaos.
cool. Well, and I've known a few people that do the like that sell crystals and make wands and stuff like that. And there's always some room in their house that is just filled with a bunch of stuff, basically.
There's crystals in every room all over. I have a workshop kind of right in the middle of my living space where I build my tools and items, and it's also right next to my desk where I can study and work, because there's a lot of paperwork and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff you have to do for a business too. But it really it helps me remember what I'm doing here, what I'm in it for. It really brings such joy. I can't miss it because it's everywhere, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, and I'll switch topics here in just a second. I was just curious, what are you holding in your hand now?
This is Ohio Flint.
Ohio Flint.
It helps me focus.
Wow, that's really cool. Is it called Ohio Flint because it's from
Yeah,
Ohio? I
it's
would
from here.
imagine.
It's local.
Well, that's cool. Um, I was curious when we were talking, how are like, do you believe in like spirit guides and stuff like that, or do you just feel like there's source or just the universe, or what's your stance on that, or how do you flow with
Yes,
that?
to all of it. I really just, I'm definitely guided. There's evidence of that. The proof is in the pudding. There's definitely a source. I have known intellectually for decades we're all one, but I haven't really felt or understood the true depth of what that means until I have become in alignment with who I really am through the crystal business, through healing, doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Now it all of a sudden becomes really obvious what that means exactly. And I've learned, I'm learning astrology, so which
Oh,
is like a
nice.
whole language that expands out into the universe. And at the same time, I'm doing the somatic practice, which is the whole universe of expanse inside of myself. So I feel like my understanding is growing in internally, externally, every day. And so I can, it's not even a belief, it's a knowing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just as much as I know I have legs here and a heart in my chest, I, yes to all of that,
Well,
for sure.
you know, you mentioned a few times like evidence or like the
Yes.
science and stuff. And when I first got into the spiritual realm of things, and it doesn't even have to be the spiritual realm. When I just first started realizing what the truth was in this world of
Yeah.
everything, I was very skeptical of all of it. I mean, my
Yes.
teacher's like, feel your foot
Same.
chakra. I'm like, it's the warmth of my
Same.
foot. But like, as I went, I was like, so the idea of it was extremely exciting to me though, and I felt it, and it genuinely or authentically came up. It wasn't like I saw a video and I was like, oh, spirituality would be cool.
Right.
It was like I went into work one day and felt like I needed to learn something, and I just googled the word knowledge, and then all of a sudden found meditation, and then started seeing visions and being communicated to through meditation. So like, it was all authentic to me. So I
Yes.
wasn't influenced. I didn't even know this world exists, to be completely honest. And I'm going to get to what I'm trying to say in a second. But there was a show one time. It was like a Dr. Phil type show or something. I was young, and I heard this person say, well, I communicate with my spirit guides. And then there was this like talk about, okay, what is a spirit guide? And they were like really almost like laughing at them because they said something about a spirit
Right.
guide, but also trying to act like they were interested and have them explain that. But ever since I heard that, that stuck with me, meaning that was something that is true. And I was like, uh, what is it? But I didn't think too much of it. But then I got into my journey, and this is what I'm trying to get to, is I would ask my guides, ask the universe, ask God to prove to me that this is real. And that was everything from energy healing to grounding myself, using imaginary roots out of my feet. I didn't believe it at first, but then the first time I did it, I felt roots, or I felt like tickling on the bottom of my feet, and I was like, that's weird because I don't
Mm.
ever feel tickling on the bottom of my feet. And then I felt all of my anxiety being pushed back down through my body out of my roots. And I was like, well, this is real. And then protection. I felt anxiety terribly. And then I started doing bright light protection, and it went away completely. I
Mm-hmm.
found out someone was stealing my energy. I put a bubble around me, and they started to flip out a little bit because their energy, they were now
Nowhere
feeling
to
their
go.
energy.
Yeah.
So it was like everything was proven to me, just everything. I
Yes.
can go through example, but um, so I think that it is important. I think two things. I think it's very important to have faith in whatever it is that you believe, and understand you're not always going to know the answers to everything
Right.
or get proof of everything. But I do think that it is proper and okay to ask for proof of any of the crazy stuff that you experience or are told to do or
Definitely.
see, because the universe will show you.
There's definitely a healthy dose of skepticism that is required, I think, to find your way through. And but the proof really is in the pudding. And I've had my most skeptical friend on the table with, a hurt knee from falling, and been able to completely remove that and have her be like, "Oh yeah, that's been gone all the rest of the day. No kidding, I didn't even notice." And even as I started to learn the process of healing for myself, I had always been told, "Ashley, you have these healing hands." This was like a recurring message that I had throughout the years. Okay, and I really started to lean into it. I started to learn. I started to practice the skills, to exercise my abilities. But it wasn't until I actually did it on myself. And I was just at the beach. I had been suffering with pain in my hip for months. I was kind of worried what's going on, and I used hematite. That's like one of the stones that speaks to me the most, and now I know why. But I used that under my spine to kind of give it to the earth, and it has not, that was years ago now already.
Wow.
And so being able to show myself, even, I realized I needed that verification as well. And so I think um, those experiences are what is the evidence for us. And once you open up to them, you start to realize how many were always there and we just missed them. We weren't attuned to it yet, we weren't facing it. And now, once you know what to look for, all of a sudden they're all over the place. And it's really comforting because you're not such a small, alone entity all by itself. In this giant world, you're unified in this way. You're not working on your own. You do have a team, you do have others helping, and there's a real settling, a sense of self, even in gaining that understanding.
I agree, and that's something in my life that really changed my life and made me feel
Mm-hmm.
very secure and just, I don't know,
Yeah,
good, because I when I realized that I
good.
do have spirit guides that have my back, or I do have God, the universe, but then going to more of the earthly plane, I realized that the trees are there to help me heal, and that
Mm-hmm.
there are crystals, there are rocks, and there are even the grass itself. Like, it's all healing and there to support you. And I had a friend on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he was like, my daughter's overseas. I lost, or me and my girlfriend broke up. My dog passed away. He said, it's
Ouch.
just me, and I'm lonely. And he said I was talking with my shamanic teacher, because he's in training to become a shaman. And he said I was talking to my shamanic teacher, and I was like, I just kind of feel lonely with everything. And she was like, well, do you truly believe that the trees um, are alive and speaking to you? Do you truly believe that nature is speaking to you? Do you truly believe that the universe, or that your guides are there and speaking with you? And he's like, yes, I do. And she was like, well, if you truly believe that, you're never alone. Like,
Hmm.
you're always surrounded by what you need. And he said that that just really changed his outlook on everything. And I think that because for me, if I need clarity, I go to nature.
Hmm.
If I need healing, I will. I mean, I'll do my own healing on myself, but I also go to nature. Nature is my go-to with everything, because it just has so much to offer, which reflects in crystals as well. And
Yep.
there's some crystals that are like meteorites and stuff,
Yes.
aren't they? Yeah, like
Yep.
moldavite. Isn't that a? Wasn't that a meteorite? Or
I'm
was
not
it
sure
not?
about Moldavite,
Yeah.
but I did just recently discover a new one. New to me, it's been around, but it's from asteroid out, floating around in space, not even fixed location. And I was shown when I was at the Tucson show that if you hold them in your hands, it's like putting a traffic cone over your head. Boom.
Mm,
Everything is quiet and still. And so now, whenever my daughter is feeling overly anxious, or even at night, sometimes I used to have trouble sleeping, I can use that immediately and feel that. So it's not even just this place. Like, this place is incredible, and that's part of why I've named my business after the earth, this place that gives us these wonderful gifts. But the whole universe is part of that too. It's
Yes, it
really crazy
is.
to think about.
It really is that. It really is. I was in meditation a while, like a week or two ago, and there was actually we went into meditation to go speak with Jesus. That was our goal that day, and basically he was kind of just talking about that a lot of just like how the universe is just all one, and we have other life forms that are out there, and we may not know about them or understand them yet at this point, but it's like everything is working in unison and
Hmm.
everything's working off of, like, everything's just in balance, and it's the way that it's supposed to be, and it's just an amazing feeling. Do you use, like, for your daughter, do you use crystals a lot for her? Like, does she utilize it? Does she believe it? Does she react to it pretty good?
Definitely. And we went through kind of a tricky period where my family split, went through a divorce. It was a brand new kind of situation for my kids. And a message was given to me that, if I lean into this practice with the crystals with them, they will be just fine. And so, by extension of me just modeling what I do, me and my endless learning, my desire to know more, to keep looking, to uncover the rocks and the figurative rocks and see what you can find under there, is given them permission to do the same. And so, my children are very active in understanding what something is. But what's really interesting is they don't ask me, which one do I need? They just know.
Hmm.
Children are already, they're just way more sensitive to it already. There's much more of a profound effect for them. And I think it's because they haven't learned yet that they don't have this
Hmm.
skill or this ability. And so it's interesting, even my son, who's 5, I will come home from a work trip and give him a crystal, and he'll be upset about something and be like, I thought this would be a toy and not this dumb crystal. And then later in the evening, he's 5 and he says, I'm sorry, I really love that crystal, where is it? I need it right
uh,
now. So even when we don't understand, there's still this understanding inside of the 5-year-old's little body that this is something I want right now. I don't even know why, but here it is, and I feel better. So
mm,
they don't need to know why, they don't need to know what's happening. They just do it. And that inspires me in turn to do the same. My
right.
daughter, though, she's had a sick day in the past couple months, and it's really nice to pull her up on the table and do laying on of stones or healing hands on her. And I feel like, if nothing else, our bond is so deep and strengthened just from this kind of curious interaction, this nurturing exchange, even between us. She trusts me to do it on her. So that's giving me, at the same time, I'm feeling nurtured because she's allowing it. And at the same time, she's feeling better from taking that chance and exploring with me. So it's so much more than just the healing or just the individual. That's what we mean when we say we're one. It's like we become this machine together, we nurture each other, we co regulate at the same time. And it's just been incredible for our own individual relationship development. It's everything. The way I interact with my mentors or my coworkers or the little dude over at the gas
Hmm.
station, it spills into everything. And I can see, I'm I'm told all the time about the light that people see in me, and they thank me for it, and I can see them brighten up, and then they walk out the door with their light kind of spit shined as well.
Well, and I want to touch on that in a second. I I think kids are very open to all the things, like their energy
Yes.
wise. And my son, I was showing him how a pendulum can heal and stuff like that. And I was in balance things, and his knee was hurting a little bit, and I held it over it, and I started doing some, like, just letting it do its thing. and he started like giggling and laughing. He was like 3 years old, 4 years old at this point. He was like, it tickles, because like he could feel it interacting with his energy or
Yes.
whatever. And he's very interested in like Chris. He has his own crystal collection and stuff, and very receptive to energy healing as well. Uh,
Yeah.
so, and I love that for you and your kids, that they are utilizing what you're utilizing, and that's going to come into play huge for them when they grow up as well. Um,
Yes.
and now I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to mention something about the last part that you said, but I can't remember what you said. Well, I guess I'll ask you this, because I was going to ask you this as well. Do you do energy healing with your
I
hands?
do.
Did you get training for that, or is that just
Yes.
something that you organically did?
No, I was definitely trained in that during my whole kind of crystal alchemy
Mm-hmm.
studies. But it was something that I know now, looking back, was already occurring before I had language for it or understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty interesting. It's empowering to discover a gift like that and to be able to kind of exercise that specifically. If you want to be a race car driver, you're going to go to the track and you're going to really hone very specific skills. For me, I kind of wandered for decades wondering where's that passion for me, not realizing it was already in my system. It was already part of my tool chest, but I didn't have a language for it. So I missed it. I couldn't see it yet. And
Mm.
so the crystals, my interest in the crystals brought me on the path to illuminate what I already had innately in me. I don't need the crystals to do what I do, but they're the ones who taught me the path, how to do it. And so now I can use choices. I can use them when I want to, but I don't have to rely on it. But I'm very grateful for their presence and their guidance. So we have a lot of fun together. I'm going to stick with
Yeah.
them.
Well, then,
But the thing about the kids too, the way I have my shop set up, I have, tumbled stones all together in community, and I do this differently than what I see other people do. And the kids come right up to it and want to dive in, and all the time the parents are like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," or "Oh, don't touch that." And I was like, well, if you had realized that they are like that deliberately, they're just begging for that interaction. And
mm,
sometimes, it's just that touch which allows that possibility to, oh, let me explore this little more. And then they're already well on their way down the path.
well, because sometimes you touch something and it just feels good, and you
Mm-hmm.
have no clue why, but you just want
Yep.
it by you, the same way they feel security
Yeah.
from a teddy bear that they have when they're younger or
Exactly.
something. And yeah, well, that's awesome, and I love that. I just love how authentic they are, the kids,
Yes.
and they're just like, I don't know why, but I'm very in love with all of this stuff or
Yeah.
whatever. And well, that's awesome. Well, moving forward a little bit, there was a new modality or a new something that you were
Yes.
mentioning about, and I can't ever remember the name that you told me, but I would love to hear more about
So
that.
I'm currently in a somatic training called the Alexander Technique.
Mm,
And this has become a really, if not the most important piece to my whole studies with crystals and energy healing, because if you were to really distill it down to a nutshell, it's a postural re education. But the process in which you learn this is really puts you somatically in tune with your own physical body and the habits that we live, the choices that we make. And what the modality does is you have an Alexander teacher who will provide your body with the experience of being in a position with the highest mechanical advantage. So that
mm,
way you can sit up or get out of your chair or get in your car or be on your computer without pain, with an ease of flow, because your body is learning how to do all of those things from a position of better mechanical advantage. So one job is to feel the experience of that, whether that's laying on the table or being physically put in it by your teacher's hands. And then once you start to integrate that experience, you begin to learn that it's actually a collaborative process. The other piece is you're using mental directions to embody these different positions. So in essence, you're learning how to think. You're being
Mm.
taught how that I need to allow my neck to be free. I need my head to be forward and up. We also want our chest and back to be widened and lengthened. And the final mental direction is to have our knees forward and away from us. And you begin with one and you just start to realize how often we tense our neck when we go to lift a weight or when we go to move something over here. We don't need to do that. And I'm already in a practice of Tai Chi, which has really helped my coordination and my understanding of what is my toe doing when my chest is doing this. And you begin to have the experience in your body of placing your legs in certain places. Once you get that experience over and over again, you begin to embody it. And then next time you slip on ice, your feet are going to just slip in a wider stance because you've exposed your physical body to this experience over and over again. It just happens naturally. And the same thing is true with our postures. We live in an artificial world. We sit in chairs that we've designed but aren't necessarily what our body needs. If you're a lady putting on your mascara, you can be like this, and then you walk around the rest of the day like this. We don't even notice our habits. And what you find is that what you feel like you're doing isn't necessarily always what you're actually doing. So the way we feel isn't necessarily an accurate guide. And I'm a big feeler. I work with intention. Oh, how does that feel in my body? That's where I get a lot of my information. So it's really important for me to understand that that sense is calibrated correctly. And so the Alexander technique, you're learning to have that mechanical advantage, which helps you in everything you do. But the real special piece is that mind control. You're learning to use your mind, your consciousness, quicken it in order to get the effect that you want. A lot of the healing work that we do on people is very subconscious. You're working below the surface, we're stirring up silt to get it out. But we can also work with our consciousness. And that's also what I like to do in my group events to, hey, let's teach you how to think so that you can manifest what you want, or so that you can go into that job interview with reduced anxiety. Let me teach you how to think so when you go into surgery, you're not so tight and wound up that you recover faster, things go more smoothly. It's been amazing to learn about myself in from the inside out, and to finally understand, like, astrology has taken me, phew, shot me right out into outer space, and this practice has taken me all the way inside. And when you get in there, it meets the outer
Mm.
space. It's crazy. And so when I'm learning, I just recently was working with my mentor's mentor. The three of us were working together, and her mentor was showing me, just by touching her elbows, I'm holding her elbows and she's holding my mentor's head. And she said, okay, I'm doing something in my body. What am I doing? Don't use your eyes. Just tell me what you feel. And I said, I feel a tightness in my lower back. And she says, how about now? Have I changed it or is it the same? And I said, well, I don't feel it anymore. And she said, that's because I changed it. And I found that information by scanning my own person and
Mm.
feeling it through that touch. So it's the quality of touch, the way we touch each other, that we can find new information within ourselves. And the easiest way for that information to flow is through that position of mechanical advantage. So there's countless reasons it's fascinating to me, but also reasons why this should be mandatory. Even writing with a pencil, we'll use our whole shoulder and our neck. And as kids, we learn that from the adults. So we're the best models for our children. And it's not just personality and the way we treat people, but it's also the way we use ourselves, our bodies. And once you really tap into how to do that, even if you want to do it correctly or your own way, once you're tapped into that, you see how we all are really a machine working together. And it just reinforces that principle of unity with everything else. It's one of the most thrilling things I've ever discovered. And when I was a kid, I remember being like 10 and reading a junior magazine, and they did a highlight special on this guy who bends Barbie's legs for a living. He like straps their legs into the machine, and there's like 20 Barbies lined up, and he like bends their legs to make sure they bend properly. And I'm like, what the heck is that? Like, what if my dream job is out there and I don't even know it exists? What if I'm supposed to be bending Barbie's legs or something? And so when I found the Alexander technique, I was like, that's it. That is my Barbie's legs. So I'm
Ah,
bending Barbie's legs now, but through the
sort
Alexander
of. Yeah.
technique. Right. Well, actually, literally, but human legs,
Right.
because that's
Yeah.
part of the process. I'm It's a pretty strenuous study. I'm only a year in. I will need bodies to work on though, so
Mm.
that's something that I share with people who might be curious about it or who might be in need of that kind of readjustment. You feel good after being on the table, even before we start getting into that collaboration piece. You receive immediate relief of some of these habits that we don't even know we're carrying.
Well, and so much that I want to say there. I think that that's absolutely amazing. And I think that when you start to, um, I don't know, feel into your own body and just
Hmm.
realize the different mannerisms or the different things that you have going on, I think it really can open your eyes to the things that we're doing without even thinking
Yeah.
about it, or the things that our bodies are programmed to do. And I mean, like if I sit or stand with my like posture, I feel like I'm like sticking my chest out, but really like I'm
Well,
not at all.
but you might be, because when we think of a society as posture should be erect and straight, and
Mm,
that's not exactly how our body is designed either. So that's another habit of thought
mm.
that we don't realize we carry. So usually when I start talking to a group or one of my house parties about this technique, everyone in the room will sit up immediately. It's hilarious. So we already have these habits, these habit of thought even, and it's really fun to be like, we can pause and take a break before we act. And that type of messaging really applies to everything in my life. So the more I learn of what might need to be corrected or altered within me, it really applies to everything in the macrocosm as well. And one of the big ones that I've struggled with is, before I put my hands on someone else, I have to make sure I'm aligned first. I have to make sure my mental directions are in operation, and that I'm going to properly communicate what I want your back to do by modeling it with my back.
Mm.
That, like, I need to slow down and be in and take a breath before I do anything. I'm in such a rush to get to the next thing, or to end game, or to know what I should be doing next. That type of information has really served me on the macro level, to slow down, to take a minute, to make sure I'm tended to before, you put your own mask on, before you put the child's mask on. So, and that's just one example of how that works. Everything that we struggle with out there, there's a point on the inside too, in my experience. And it's been pointed out to me that, thank God, it's in here too, because you can find it and you can work with it.
Mm.
Probably a lot easier than looking, it could be anywhere out there,
Right.
but it's easier to look in here and find it.
Well, and I think that I don't know. I do find that whole process fascinating, and because when I like when I'm getting ready to do work on someone, I do like a body check in and try to
Yes,
like
exactly.
become calm within my body and just
Same thing.
if there's like take note if I'm feeling any pains, any tightness, anything, and then just move forward. But I've never necessarily. One of the boundaries that I set a long time ago, because I experienced feeling someone else's like it was while doing mediumship, and I ended up feeling someone's passing, and I couldn't breathe, and I was like, I don't ever want to
No
feel
thanks.
anything again. So like now I don't let anybody's energy like affect my body, but I know there's healthy ways to do it and everything, obviously.
Yeah,
But my teacher, my very first teacher, however, um, she would say, I can place my hand on someone and I can feel everything that's going on within their body. And, but she could even do that without placing her hand on someone. And,
cool.
but to think about that and of just how interconnected we all
Yeah.
truly are, is just a fascinating thing. So basically, when you get someone on the table, um, are you like talking with them at first to get them to recognize what's going on within their body, or are you putting your hands on them sort of like you did your teacher or your mentor, the mentor, when you were feeling the tightness in their back and stuff? Or how does that process work?
It depends on the intent of the session.
Mm-hmm.
There's a place for all of that and everything. If there's a specific ailment that someone comes in with, I like to have a plan of attack kind of beforehand, but I take that time to settle first, to allow space for the unexpected, for what's going to come through spontaneously in that moment. But when it comes to the Alexander technique sessions in particular, you can look and see with your own eyes what is carried in the body, what, someone's shoulder might be dropped a certain way. Maybe they don't know why they're there, they're just suffering from pain, or they want to improve their posture. You have to have that dialogue to know, why is that shoulder that way? Maybe they had a ball and socket surgery, or maybe they're right-handed. There could be several reasons why, and all of that's going to be information. But where I think the two practices intersect, there's definitely a need to interact, to use consciousness to ask those questions and see what comes up in order to kind of go from there. But with the crystal healing in particular, there's also that subconscious level of intuition. Then I'm intuitively led, to see what comes next, and then kind of see what comes up verbally. So that dialogue is pretty important.
Well, and there's also the aspect of like if there's something going on energetically or something in an area, you can utilize the crystals for that as well, and
Yes,
or your healing hands, or I don't know, all the tools that you have,
it's
because you
so
you have
fun.
so much, which is amazing. uh well, and like I was talking with the chiropractor downstairs, he was doing we were trading sessions. I was kind of doing some energy healing on him and he was doing some chiropractic work on me, but I was just like, I want to make sure everything's aligned. So he
Yeah,
did, and he was like, honestly, you're pretty aligned. We can maybe tweak this over here,
great.
but not necessary. And so I just left it at that. But he was telling me, he'll be, I don't know, on vacation or just at the store, and he is looking at someone just by the way they walk. He knows so much about
Yes.
like their alignment and stuff like that, or different things. So when he first said that, it was like, it's always really crazy how everyone sees the world differently, because for
Mm-hmm.
me, I see it through energy or through emotions or through like, I don't know, just their energetic signature that's
Yeah.
going on. So when I see someone, I'm like, oh, I feel like, or I feel they're going through a lot of stuff
Yeah.
right now, or oh, they're a very pleasant person to be around, or whatever. Whereas him, or even you, or people that practice it's the Alexander technique, is that
Mm-hmm.
what it is? I mean, they're all, everyone just sees the world differently, and I
Yeah.
think that's really cool.
It's like when you get a new car and then you see that car everywhere.
Uh-huh.
It's like you're attuned to it now. And now I'm checking everyone out at all everywhere I go, and I'm wondering, well, does that hurt you? And you could just pull up your sternum a little bit, or that's not very Alexander technique of me, but I can't help it. It's like if you're a process manager and you're standing in line at the fast food restaurant, you're gonna, man, if they had this line set up in this way, it would flow better. So you're just attuned to
Mm-hmm.
that, and it's a lot of fun because you get some history. You kind of know the person. I'm not going to learn anything by being attuned to a line at the market, but if I see your body, you feel that sensation of heaviness or that thickness. You're connecting with that person. You're learning something about them, and that's the stuff I think
Mhm.
of life is that connection.
Yes. And I also, it's just always funny how there's so many different ways of doing the same exact thing,
Yes.
basically, because the shaman I was just talking to yesterday, she does um, energy melding, which is where
Ooh.
she like basically moves into your body. She asked for permission. I actually had a session with her a long time ago, and she asked for permission to enter my body, and I'm like, and this was kind of towards the beginning of my journey. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And like, I felt this rush of heat for a second, and I was like, whoa, is that my own
Amazing.
anxiety, or is it like? And then she's like, all right, she said, I'm feeling this like almost like you're short breathing, and at that time, I did a lot of short breathing, like not like taking full breaths or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And it was something I was actually recognizing. But basically, she was going through the different things that she was finding, and I thought it was fascinating. And then my teacher was like, "Oh, I can put my hand on them, and I can, feel this and that." And then I'm like, "Oh, I can close my eyes and see a diagram of your body and see what's
Wow.
going on within your body." And it's just like everyone can do the same exact thing. It's just a matter of how you actually get to it. And it
Yeah.
just shows that we are all so connected in
Yes.
so many ways and able to help each other in so many ways because um, I think that there's a true healing that can happen when we actually realize that we can facilitate it,
Yeah.
basically.
We all have these gifts. We all have the power to do this kind of stuff. And like you said, it just manifests differently in each of us. And so there's a lot of overlap, but then there's also you have your unique way. That vision of seeing is not how I am able to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's fascinating to gain the language to be able to talk about that because that's not something in our common culture to be able to discuss it. And without that piece of it, it's really easy to miss. But once you do start interacting, then you start to be like, you start to notice, why not me as well? And when you're surrounded by that, it gets coaxed out of you. And it's one of the most just magnificent processes of unfolding is to discover yourself in these types of ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fun.
It is. Well, and something I was thinking about is like an animal, if they have a baby and they just know that something's off about one of the babies, a lot of the times they'll just like kick it off to the side or something, which is
Hmm.
kind of ruthless, but they just feel that and they just feel and the same with humans. We just feel
Yeah.
what's going on with each other and we can really utilize that. And I do think that through all the processes or all the things that are out there, when we do start to dive into, like for me it was reiki, mediumship, psychic stuff, cleansing houses, I mean all the stuff. For you it's crystals, it's the Alexander technique, it's healing hands, it's your art, welding, like just
Yeah.
all the stuff. It helps us find who we truly are throughout that process, and it helps us redefine who we are, and also opens our eyes to the fact that like there's so many possibilities out
Isn't
there
that
of
amazing?
like what we want to be, what we can do, what we can help with. And it's almost like you want to get on a rooftop and just be like, I can help, or we can help each
Yeah.
other, or like the universe is
The
here.
more you find out, the more you realize the more you don't know. The more there
Yes.
is, the more possibilities that are there for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when I hear it all the time because, as you know, and some of the people watching may know, I have some wellness. I have two wellness centers with a lot of
Yeah.
different practitioners, so I see so many different modalities
Yeah.
that come through. But like all of those modalities are doing the same thing with a twist. And I think if someone could learn like a lot about each modality, it would be amazing at helping people. But like everyone's doing it different. Everyone's doing it though, and it's working. And for some, the Alexander technique might be something that's really, really helpful for them. And then for others, maybe it doesn't vibe with them so much and they need to go do some energetic work or something, or who
Yeah.
knows. But I just feel like that's the joy in it, is there's so many different options for people to do whatever they need to do.
Well, we're all unique in our own individual self. So to have each person kind of have their unique process for healing, it's enables us to match up with exactly what we need by having all those choices.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know, it's just an amazing world. And I'm so happy that I um, moved into it, basically,
Mm-hmm.
because it's changed my life in so many ways of
Yeah.
just, I don't know, working on all of this. One last thing I wanted to ask you about the Alexander technique is, uh, so because I want to make sure that I'm clear on it. So is the practice that you're doing, or the main thing that you're doing, are you working with people and coaching them on stuff, or and are you actually moving into feeling what's going on within their body and adjusting that by adjusting your own body? Or how does what it
Well, um, I'm still in training, so I'm not working on people yet. But the teacher, um, I will be a teacher when I'm completed. The teacher will will move your body physically to provide your body with that experience, but you're also feeling and picking up information through that quality of touch on where they're at. If if I'm asking someone to completely release their shoulder, and I'll pick up their hand and hold it, and I can tell just by that touch when you're holding that person's hand if they've fully released or not. You can just sense it through your own being. And if I want to teach you to widen your back, I'm going to have my hands on you to help your back widen physically first before you're able to mentally do it yourself. And but it's not just being physically manipulated, you're also being influenced by that modeled behavior from my own back. So that
mm.
moment of touch is just as important as the verbal guidance and the discussion. I'm not sure if that
That makes
answers the
sense. No, it
question, but
does. It really it does. It's just I've never heard of that technique, so I'm
yes,
very interested in
it's
it
a
because
it
it's
seems to be like a niche thing. It's something actors do, or people who play instruments, who are in a position who need who suffer from pain from that kind of stuff, or even horseback riders. From what I hear, I think athletes will come through to gain that extra half a second in their sprints or whatever, is through using their body at that utmost mechanical advantage.
mm-hmm.
You start to discover by being in that position, you can reach just a little bit higher, you can have just a little bit more balance. So, and but not only that, like, this isn't taught in the technique, but I'm learning all about myself on the outside, the way I interact with people too, just by getting that in touch with who you are on the inside, um, and what you're thinking about while you're
Mm-hmm.
looking in there. So
Yeah.
it's
But and
so
I
fun.
think that when we start to pay attention to different things like that, it starts to open up different possibilities. Like, super weird example, but in a way, so I still do, I do jujitsu, but a long time ago I did jujitsu as well until I hurt my knee, and then I quit for 10 years. But back the
Yeah.
first time, I used to work on cars a lot because, well, I was an auto mechanic, but I also had this really cool car, and it was real low, so I had to jack it up and get under there and do stuff.
I didn't know
And
you were a gearhead.
yeah,
And me
yeah.
too,
I
way
still
back in the
work on my
day.
own cars because,
Nice.
well, now I have the Tesla, so I don't even know how to
Hot,
work on
yeah.
that. But it's all electric. But I did do electric work as well, so I don't know. Maybe I could figure it out. But yeah, I still work on my wife's car and everything because I'm not paying
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of dollars for
It's a good
something I can
skill.
do for $52 or whatever. So it is. But by just doing jujitsu and learning different ways to move my body when I have a 250-pound guy on top of me or whatever, that actually translated into being able to manipulate my body a little bit easier
To
under
get
the
into
car
the
and
hood.
stuff.
Exactly.
So I don't know. That's just what I thought about in the beginning when you were first talking about
That's
it.
how all that stuff kind of crosses over and informs each other. And
Yeah.
that's why, it's all connected.
And I just, yeah, I think that possibility of like your body could be this way, or opening up that same as like, I don't know the exact of the story, but there was like, for the longest time people could like the fastest mile was whatever, let's just say, I don't even know, but like let's say it was 2 minutes, and it was that way for like years and years and years, and then all of a sudden someone broke that record, and by like a tenth of a second or something. And then all of a sudden, everybody started beating the record more and more and more because they saw that it was a possibility.
Yeah.
But for the longest time, people were like, 2 minutes, we can't ever beat that. And then all of a sudden, it is, I don't know, something that they can do. So I think same with our body. Once we realize, oh, I am tightening that, or I can be more in flow this way, or I can reach higher, or I can be without pain or whatever, I think it opens up that possibility, and then it just gives us kind of permission to
Yeah.
do that.
That
Yes,
ripple effect of it.
pretty much. Yes. Well, we'll start to get ready to start wrapping things up. Is there anything else that you want to touch on or want to talk about while we're
No,
here?
I think that covers it.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
You're very welcome. Well, I want to give you an opportunity to just tell everybody basically where they can find you, what you don't have to go through each one, but just what type of services you offer and stuff like that, and what, again, where they can find you, where's your next event at, or something, whatever you want to share, so people can get a hold of you. You can look in that camera.
I have an expo coming up in a couple weeks in Napoleon, and there's another expo here locally a couple weeks after that. I'll be around at Art on the Vine downtown in Cincinnati, and I bring out the crystals to show off the crystals. If you want to come check out the collection or see what other house parties or events that we're hosting, you can find out all that kind of information at earthrabbitenergy.com. And if you're interested in being a body to kind of experience the Alexander technique and the what it's like to be moved into a position of mechanical advantage, then sign up for my mailing list because I'll be reaching out as my training progresses.
Nice. Well, I really appreciate you being on here. It was
Thank
a pleasure
you.
talking to you, and maybe in the future we can chat again.
Yeah,
All right.
sounds great.
Thank you. Everyone, see you later. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.